for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky.
Hi everyone, you're all very welcome to episode number 29 of the Fraochknits podcast. My name is Anya and I'm coming to you from the west of Ireland, County Mayo in the west of Ireland. And the name of my podcast, Fraochknits, actually means heather. It's the Irish word for heather, Fraoch is. So I live pretty much on the side of a mountain, a beautiful holy mountain in the west, very near the coast. I can see an island off the coast from my window here, in Ishturk, off the west coast of County Mayo. So it's so nice to have you with me, and it's been a long time. It's taken me a little bit of work up to today's podcasting. It always takes me longer to get ready when it's been a while since I've actually filmed anything. So you're also welcome here. I'm really delighted to be back again talking to you. Making these podcasts is such a pleasure for me. And I hope it is for all of you guys out there. I know I have a lot of people who really enjoy watching them, and I love to have you along. So thanks for all my existing viewers and subscribers, and thank you to all of the people who have subscribed in the last 24 hours. I'm delighted to have had a shout out from Leanne. Thanks a million, Leanne, from the Nitty Stew podcast. Leanne's podcast. She's a Canadian flight attendant who travels all over the world and makes podcasts while she's on her travels and looks for yarn shops. And her podcast is brilliant, and I love her knitting as well. I think we have a lot of similar tastes in what we choose, the patterns we choose and the yarns we like. And so I feel she's a real kindred spirit, and just really love her approach to knitting and podcasting. And I'm really privileged, humbled to have been given a shout out. So thanks a million, Leanne, and thanks to all you new subscribers for joining me here. And I hope you really enjoy the what I have to show you and the stories that I have to share with you. So my podcast is sort of similar to most sort of standard knitting podcasts in that I look at my works in progress and finished objects and all that sort of stuff. But I also do a little section at the end of each podcast, which you can choose to stay for if you're interested, or you don't have to if not, obviously. And so that is called, I call that the Irish cultural section. And sometimes I look at, I started out mainly looking at plants and trees, the natural world, and Irish myths and legends and folklore associated with trees and plants and animals. So I'm really interested in Irish folklore. I'm really interested in the Irish language, and I know there's a huge revival of the Irish language all over the world. at the moment. A lot of people are interested in learning it, and for us, we're really beginning to rediscover our own native language. I think we've had a really difficult relationship with it because of our colonial past, that we have never, most of us don't speak it as a native, it's not our native tongue, it's not our mother tongue, it is our native language, but it's not our mother tongue. And I mean, there are parts of the country that are still all Irish speaking, the Gaeltacht areas, but they're really, really small. And but there is a huge revival in rekindling our love of and our knowledge of the Irish language. So my cultural section today will be about a book that's been published by Manchán Magan, who is a really interesting author who has a huge interest also in Irish folklore and Irish language. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at his new publication. So you've heard me talking about him before, and he keeps churning out books. It's great. So it's really interesting to be able to follow him. So as I said, you're all very welcome. Thank you for subscribing and for liking the podcast if you like it, or this video. Also, if you'd like to support me in making the videos, you can contribute to my kofi account. You can buy me coffee, and I'll put the link for that in the description below. Yes, so without any further ado, what am I wearing? So the elephant in the room, as they say. So anyway, this is not finished. As you can see, I have threads hanging out all over the place, but it literally just needs to have the ends woven in, and I need to block it as well. So that's another small issue with it, but I'm absolutely thrilled with how this turned out. This is my second Soldotna crop. So the Soldotna crop is a design by Caitlin Hunter, and a fantastic American knitwear designer, and I'm sure you've all heard of. This is one of her most famous designs. I don't know how many times it's been purchased or it's been put up on Ravelry, or examples of the finished object, and they're all different because there are 4 different colours of yarn that you can use, and it's pairing all of those together that gives completely different results, and that's what I love about it. It's also a great one for summer. So it's not that warm here today, but it's still humid, so it's probably about 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I really need to get a little calculator beside me so that I can give Fahrenheit equivalent, but it is not that warm. But it's still funny this time of the year. Sometimes for us in Ireland we have weather that's not hugely warm, but once you start moving around, you realise, oh, it's very humid and it's very sultry, and you do feel warm. So this is actually an ideal sweater for this type of weather. So I've chosen to knit it in with the short sleeves. It's great, but also it's quite it keeps your body warm. I've chosen to knit it it's a DK weight pattern, but I've chosen to knit it with a fingering weight yarn and held double with the silk mohair. So, and it gives the most buttery, soft fabric, which is really, really luxurious and gorgeous and lightweight. It's a very lightweight sweater, and it gives me a chance to use up. I did the same thing with my previous Soldotna. It gives me a chance to use up single skeins of different colours of fingering weight yarn that maybe I don't know what to do with, or especially if they're merino singles, then I can't use them in socks, so they have to go into a garment. And so this is a great way of using up that type of wool. And I'm going to show you, I actually have a load of the yarn left over. I'm going to show you the bits that I have, and these are most of them. So this was all Life in the Long Grass, and this was a summer set. There's not very much of the light blue left. That's mostly gone, but there's a good bit of this one left, and I can't remember whether these actually have names. Some of them had names and some of them didn't. They were bought from the Life in the Long Grass website last summer, and this is called Warp, one of a kind, Warp. And this one I don't have the label for, and I don't know if it even had a name with it. And this one I think does definitely have a name. This one is called taking out. Shield. This one is called Shield. It's sort of like a unicorn colours, like pinks and purples and greens and blues, and it's beautiful. So these two colours, and this colour, and a navy blue colour called Mineral, also a life in the long grass colour. So these are all life in the long grass. These were the fingering weight yarns. And then for the silk mohairs, these were ones that I had picked up on my travels in Bantry Yarn Shop last year, and they are by Hedgehog Fibres, which is this one I think, and this one is called Purple Rain, and the rain is REIGN, and this one is by, I forget, oh yeah, Ullen. So Ullen are gone out of, or some people call them Olin, but the pronunciation, Irish word for wool is ull, a bit like the Swedish word I think, and maybe the Norwegian, I'm not sure. So Ullen is woolen, and it is called Glow. So this has gone out of, I think they've gone out of production, Ullen. But what a beautiful, beautiful colour. And I'm so lucky I have tons of this left over. So these came in 50 gram tanks. Normally you'd get, silk mohair very often comes in 25 gram and 212 metres. So this is over 400 metres, or it was to begin with. So these two, and then I had white with the, so this is, I can't remember the name of this particular silk mohair or the brand of it, but that went with the blue. And finally then the, oh yeah, so the two colours that I don't have here are the blue, which was Mineral in the Life in the Long Grass, and it was paired with a light blue silk mohair that was hand dyed, indigo dyed by Emma Robinson from the north of Ireland. Her company name is Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company. So that is that. They are the colours that I've used in this absolutely gorgeous sweater, and I'm really, really thrilled with the result. I made a modification with the neck that I started off. I cast on the number of stitches for the largest size actually, because I found the same thing when I knit the last version of this, that the neck was very small. I didn't like it. I really like a wide neck actually, or even a boat neck if I can get it. I just find, I don't know whether it's because I've got narrow shoulders, but I think if I have the neck here, it makes me look very like a triangle, whereas I've got, this emphasises I think the width of my shoulders, which makes them look a little bit bigger, which they need, because in terms of proportionality with the rest of my body anyway. So yeah, so this is what I did, but the last time around I actually knit the whole thing up and then ended up ripping out the collar, not the collar, but I ripped out from above the colour work up, and I re-knit to a much wider opening. And this time I tried to do it slightly differently. I tried to cast on for the largest number of stitches at the ribbing, at the neck ribbing, and then I tried to calculate a gradual increase to work up to, I think it's size number 4 maybe, or 5, I can't remember which one I ended up doing, where the after the split for the sleeves, so the body width, that number of stitches was, so between the two I subtracted and then tried to divide them up evenly and to increase on rows where there was no colour work. So it was all a little bit tricky actually doing it that way, and I think, I don't know whether I've quite achieved the same look that I did in my previous sweater of the open neck, but that also could be down to the fact that the sweater hasn't been, I haven't, what's it called, blocked it yet. And I think that it will relax and release a little bit, and because I think it needs to come down a little bit more over my shoulders. I don't know if you saw that, that's a moth flying in front of the camera, which is really bad. So I have a few moths around. They love this type of weather, the warm, damp weather, and I'm just trying to keep on top of them. I keep going through my yarn stash just to make sure that there's nothing in there. So far so good. I had one little casualty actually in my cabinet, which I found one ball of yarn had been affected, but yeah, so just have to keep on top of them. There's really no other way around it. So that's life. Anyway, so yeah, I think if I was to knit this again, which I may do because I love it so much. It's such a great sweater to wear as well. It's one that I feel really comfortable wearing, as I said, with the short sleeves. I love short sleeved knitwear. I haven't knit that much of it actually, but it's so easy to wear in our Irish summer. And always wearing something underneath it, just because it's never that warm here. But if I was to knit it again, I would definitely change the, I would knit the colour work according to the numbers and the figures that Caitlin Hunter has worked out, and that work perfectly well for my body. But I think I would start at the colour work and then I would knit up for the for a much wider neck. That's another way of doing it. So that's it. That's my Soldotna crop, my first finished object. My second finished object then is also not quite finished. I was on this roll where I was getting loads of stuff done. So it's been about 6 weeks since I last made a podcast, and during that time I've had a fair amount of knitting time, but a lot of it has been spent on developing, you'll see, a work in progress that has actually taken me ages to figure out. It's a striped one, so it's colour work, colours and stripes. That has taken a lot of my time and I'm obsessed with it, so nothing else is getting done. But this is another repeat pattern. You'll probably all recognise this as the gorgeous Felix Pullover. And this is knit in Letlopi. I think it's colour number 86. It's a light beige heather. And I just have the bind offs to do on the hem and the sleeves, and it's the Italian sewn bind off. So I've left enough yarn for each each hem, and I just have to get around to sitting down and doing that. And for me, that's not that exciting. So it's sort of like a chore that has to be done. And anytime I want to knit, I actually just want to knit. I don't want to be doing sewn bind offs. But I really want to get this finished so that I can wear it soon enough. I mean, it's a good wet sweater for summer evenings here, where it gets cool in the evening if you're outside. And also if it's a cold day. But yeah, that's my lovely Felix. And if you don't know, the Felix Pullover is by Savory Knitting, I think, and it has these beautiful what are they called? Eyelets either side of the raglan increases. I mean, it's just the simplest of sweaters, but the size of it is perfect. It looks perfect on me, I think on anybody who knits it. It's a really lovely sweater. There you go. So that is that. That's my second finished object, and I'm just going to take a little break here for a drink. I'm drinking a substitute for coffee. I've been trying to cut down on my caffeine intake to try and improve my sleep quality, which seems to be working a little bit. And this is a dandelion root coffee. I can't remember whether I was drinking this last time I made a podcast, but I may have been, because I gave up coffee completely actually on the 21st of April. So it's now, where are we? We're June the 16th, so that's about nearly 2 months actually. Gosh, it's nearly 2 months since I haven't been drinking coffee at all, which is really unusual for me because it's a huge sort of, coffee for me is just a real comfort drink, and but I just got to the point where I was drinking too much of it, especially working from home. I'd be able to just jump up and make myself another cup, and with lots of hot milk, so it was good to just get rid of all of that. And this is a lovely substitute drink. Dandelion root. I think I was drinking this last time as well actually. Anyway, that's it for the moment. I'm going to just check the battery on the camera. Hi again everyone, and I just had to check the camera battery there, and so that's all sorted. So I'm going to move on to the next work in progress, which is this one here. Oops, lazy. Everything is falling down today. So I have not made a huge amount of progress on this one, You would have seen this one in the last podcast, and it is a cardigan in fingering weight. So I'm doing it by, the name of the cardigan is Hood on the Moon, and it's by a German designer, I think, Katrin Schneider. And so it is a really, really beautiful cardigan with very, very simple detailing, but it's got this gorgeous ribbing running down the sleeves, from the shoulder all the way down the sleeves. And it has, it's a raglan, and it has a built-in button band, so you're knitting this as you're going along. And I suppose that's one of the trickiest parts of it, because it's a very meditative knit. It goes really smoothly, and there's very little to think about, just knitting. And I love that with this wool. This is what's it called, well, the name is escaping me. It's the American Pearl Soho linen quill, and it's just escaping me. So Pearl Soho's linen quill, that's it there. And this is fresh pickle, and yeah, so it's a really soft yarn. It's got alpaca in it, and it's got linen, and it's got Peruvian Highland wool, and it just has the softest feel to it when you're knitting with it. And it's got the lovely fleck of the linen then that didn't take the dye, which gives it a huge lovely interest in the visual interest in the actual fabric that's created. I'll just give you a look at the back of it so you can see it properly. You can see the proper stocking stitch fabric that you get out of this gorgeous linen quill. And obviously this is a provisional cast on at the neck, because the hood then gets knit on at the end. So there's an awful lot of yarn in this. I have 5 skeins of fresh pickle, so that's roughly 400 metres per skein, so it's about 2,000 metres altogether of yarn. Because you've got the long sleeves, it's quite a long cardigan, and then you've got the hood on the top of it. And it has waist shaping, so that's where I'm at. I've got a good bit below actually the split for the sleeves, which I think is where I was the last time. And I have started on the waist shaping, so it goes in a little bit, and then you knit a bit, and then it goes back out again. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be just a really lovely, cosy, lightweight cardigan, because it is fingering weight, and because it's fingering weight, it takes forever as well to knit. But really enjoyable knit, I have to say. This is a project that I'm thoroughly enjoying, and I have great faith that it will actually work out to be a garment that I'm going to wear. I think I'm going to wear this a lot when it's finished. And the only drawback about this type of knitting is that it can become a little bit, maybe a little bit monotonous, as in there's not a lot of, there's no changing in colour, and I just love colour, so I love to have a project with loads of colour in it. For the knitting end of it, I do. I mean, wearing them, it's a bit more difficult to wear really colourful stuff maybe, but this is something that's going to be easy to wear, but it's just a little bit tedious sometimes. So because of that, I started looking for a stripy pattern, stripy sweater pattern that I would knit in tandem with this, and that would also use up some of my other skeins of fingering weight yarn that I didn't know what to do with. So I found this pattern here, which is, this is my stripy fingering weight stripy sweater, which I'm in love with at the moment. It's called Simple Stripes, I think, by Suvi knits, and it is a fingering weight striped sweater, and with a sequence of 5 stripes, and that get repeated all the way down through it. You'll notice that I have a green one for the neck. I started off with this green colour, and then this is what took me so long with this. I actually did knit a swatch, but then when I was knitting the actual sweater, I was treating the sweater itself like a swatch, so I kept on ripping back and adding colours, and then deciding to change the sequence, and then deciding ultimately not to use the green at all. So I'm going to have to go back and rip that out and re-knit the neck in the grey colour. So that is going to be, I'm really going to love this. It feels like a sweatshirt actually, the weight of it. It's a raglan. I think raglan has to be my favourite sweater construction. And there is another absolutely beautiful detail on this that I'm really looking forward to knitting, and that's a fold over hem in fingering weight with a really lovely pearl row. I think that gives it a sort of a sharp edge to it, or a neat edge. So that's going to be in the sleeves, sleeve cuffs, and the hem for the sweater. So there's no ribbing at all, only at the neck. And I think that's going to give it a real, I mean, it does look like a sweatshirt actually in the photograph, in the pattern photograph, the sample that was knit up. So these yarns are all from my stash, and they're all mostly Life in the Long Grass, and some of them are, I'll just go through them actually. So this top one here, which I'm not going to be using, that is Life in the Long Grass, and it's a linen mix, it's linen and wool. And then the next one down I think is called Barn, that's Life in the Long Grass, that's 10% linen as well. And then we have this gorgeous sort of, it's called Curry, and this one, the colour, and it came from a trip to Granada in the south of Spain. And then we have the blue, really deep navy blue, is called Mineral, and that actually is in this sweater. So the navy blue here is Mineral, this colour here, but it has been paired with a light blue silk mohair, so it gives a gorgeous sort of a denim colour to the blue. But this is the original, which is a stunning deep blue colour with sort of shades of turquoise through it. And then this next one is also Life in the Long Grass. These two were actually bought as a pair, and I can't remember what the name of the blue is. I don't know if the light blue, I don't know if it even has a name actually. The grey then is Pasquale Pinta, and it is the Rami silk and merino. Really beautiful yarn actually. And it was online because I'm going to run out. I only had 50 grams of that. It was given to me by my lovely friend Annemieke from the Netherlands, and she gave me a 50-gram ball of this, and she gave me other colours as well. And I went online last night actually to see could I find somewhere that would that I'd be able to get more of this, and I can't actually. It's proving really difficult for me to find a supplier or a retail outlet that will sell it, that will ship it to Ireland. So anyway, I'll just have to work on that. I may end up using a different yarn, but I'm having so much fun with this. I really love the colours. I wanted something really bright and summery. The summer might be gone by the time it's finished, but anyway, that's that gorgeous sweater. And it's just, I think knitting with fingering weight wool for me is just such a pleasure. There's something really nice about it. This is 3.5mm needles. I can't remember, I think this is a 3mm needle. You know, they're just gorgeous. I love them. I don't get so much pleasure out of knitting with heavier weights of yarn. I find it sort of more heavier on my hands, and just not as relaxing. I don't get into that real smooth sort of flow that I do when I'm doing a fingering weight sweater. So that is, they're the works in progress. I have one last thing to show you, which is this work in progress, which I don't think I've made any progress, or very little progress on it since I last showed it to you, but this is the Musselburgh hat in two absolutely stunning yarns from Inspiring Yarns, a hand dyer from the north of Ireland, and this came from the shop in Belfast that's called Hank's Yarn Parlour. Great shop. They stock really beautiful yarns, but the colours of this are just, I just think they're fantastic. They bring me so much joy when I'm knitting with them. I really enjoy that. This particular project as well. The Musselburgh hat, if you haven't heard about it, it's an Ysolda Teague pattern that I highly recommend to anybody. If you haven't tried it, it's everywhere. A lot of people have tried it, and what's brilliant about it is that the stitch counts that she's worked out in the pattern, which I mean, you work out your gauge when you knit to a certain point. So you just start off and you increase to a certain amount, and you stop increasing when you've reached the number of stitches that fit your size that's written in the pattern, and it actually works just so well. So it's been worked out really carefully, and it's a really great pattern for that, because otherwise, you know, why would you wouldn't need a pattern necessarily. You could work it out yourself, but it's just that you have the reassurance that the pattern gives you that that stitch count will work for your head circumference. So it really is a brilliant pattern. And I've knit 3 or 4 of them already, I think, at this stage, and they're just a great small knit to have on the go when, well, I never get to it though, it's the only problem, so I'm not getting to that at the moment because of my striped sweater, which is taking up all my headspace. So the other thing I wanted to show you then is I have one work future plan for another garment, and that is it's going to either be a cardigan or a sweater. I've actually bought the pattern for it, but I've seen it. It's a sweater with an open placket, button placket, down the front, which you can leave open or half closed, and it's got a plain neck with no ribbing, just a roundy collar. I'm not sure how you describe it. No ribbing anyway on the collar, and then striped and with a sort of a thick ribbing at the hem, and it's called KC, which I can't remember what the KC stands for. It's an old pattern actually. It's been out since 2016 by Isabel Kraemer. So I've done a few things by Isabel Kraemer before, and I know her patterns are really good, and I just love the look of this. And it was really when I was trying to find something to use this yarn. So I'm trying really hard to use up the yarn that I have in my stash, and this beautiful blue face Leicester West Yorkshire Spinners fleece, and it is a DK weight, and the colour I think is Hillside, and this gorgeous green colour I think I've got about 5 or 6 skeins of it in my stash, a sweater's quantity basically, and I've been wanting to knit something with it for ages, but I've knit a good few sort of all over green sweaters, and I'm knitting this cardigan which is also green. I mean, green is obviously a big obsession of mine, and I can't resist it when I see it. But I actually have so many things. I've got another beautiful green sweater v-neck, the Harlow v-neck by Katrin, I think, and I have that, and I really don't need any more full-on green sweaters. So I decided it would do well in a striped sweater. I can't remember whether I saw the pattern first and thought of this, or whether I thought of doing a striped thing with it, but anyway, when I saw this pattern by Isabel Kraemer, I said, oh, that's perfect. I can use the green as one stripe, and I put it together with a few colours that I have here in my stash. I didn't have anything in a DK weight, but I realised that it would go perfect with neutral, like a beige. So I decided to go online and buy the skeins of this very same brand. So this is the very same yarn, this West Yorkshire Spinners fleece Blueface Leicester, and Blueface Leicester is the yarn, the fibre content that's in the pattern. So I thought, oh, perfect, it's a perfect match. And so this is their light beige, and I'm really dying to put these two together. They look fantastic and make a gorgeous, really warm, like, I mean, Blueface Leicester is such a sheen to it. It's got a beautiful quality. It's shiny, it's warm, it's soft, it's really soft. It feels softer than merino even, I think. It's just gorgeous, and it's got this lovely plump texture to it as well. So really looking forward to knitting the KC sweater with it. And also, this is something, I've seen a version of it that's a cardigan, so I think I might do a cardigan. The button placket sometimes looks a bit funny on some of the samples that have been knit. It seems to pull up a little bit, but you know, maybe that's something that could be overcome. But the idea of a full cardigan out of this would be great as well. Can't remember, I think I'm not sure what type of sleeve is on it actually, to be honest with you, but anyway, it looks great. It's a gorgeous pattern. I'm sure I have a picture of it up here so that you can see what it's like. The last thing then that I have to share with you all, this is a real speed through all my projects, and I feel like I have done a lot of knitting, but I feel like there's not a huge amount to show you, but that's what happens when you're knitting with fingering weight yarn. But But the last thing I wanted to share with you were the few acquisitions that I got, and they are basically they came out of my idea of getting the blue face Leicester. So this is a little bag from Wool Warehouse, which is a UK yarn store, and it is huge and it has everything you could possibly want. So I had this dilemma that I wanted to get. I needed extra silk mohair to finish off this. I was running out of the white silk mohair, so I needed one ball of that, and I don't have anywhere nearby that I could get it. I have to order it online, so I was going to have to order that. I was ordering the blue face Leicester as well, and I thought, if I'm going to two different shops that are not in the UK, the whole thing is the customs thing with the UK. If I go to two different European or Irish yarn shops, which I would have to do, I'd be paying two separate shipping costs. And in the end I just thought, oh my god, I'm just going to go and buy stuff from the UK, pay the VAT, and at least I've only got one small shipping cost, because their shipping costs are very, very, very reasonable. So that's what I did. So I decided to get extra yarn, so that was my sort of excuse as well for getting extra yarn. But I picked up some beautiful things there. There was, oh yeah, this one here. This was on sale, and this is also West Yorkshire Spinners, and it's called Exquisite, and it's a fingering weight yarn, and it's a mix of Falkland wool, 80% Falkland wool and 20% mulberry silk. And this is, I was thinking of maybe this being a substitute for the grey in the stripy sweater. You can see it's actually a slightly lighter tone, but I think it's going to work, so that's my idea behind that. And it was very good value. It was on special offer. That's the other thing about these big yarn shops, where the Wool Warehouse often has really amazing yarn that's been discounted because maybe it's the end of a line, or they're just getting rid of a few skeins. So that was really good. And then I decided to treat myself to some Malabrigo. I love the colours of Malabrigo Machita. And I got this one water green, and I also picked up, my favourite colour is red, I also picked up this one which is called Ravelry Red, and this is just merino singles, I think this is. There's just 100% merino content in it, so it's only really useful for sweaters. It's not great for socks or anything. But these were the two colours that I picked out, and amazingly, after I had them, when they got home, when I took them out and looked at them, and I was caking them up at home, and I realised, oh my goodness, they're actually the colours that are in this bag that I got. They're so similar to this bag, which is one of my little souvenirs from my skiing trip to the French Pyrenees in January this year. And this bag has the gorgeous water green colour, and it has the Ravelry Red in ski lifts. And I think, oh my goodness, if I could add in maybe a navy and an orange or a brown colour, and I would have a fantastic colour combination for a sweater. But I think it's so interesting that, things that we're looking at all the time, especially things that really appeal to our visual sense, like this bag, I just loved it. I loved everything about it, the graphics, the colours, and something that appeals like that combination of colours, it just goes into you subliminally almost, and you realise that you're choosing those colours then for potential projects. And that's why I always think it's lovely to just go with your instinct for choosing colours, and there'll always be somewhere you can use them, you can mix and match them. And I rarely ever just buy colours or yarn for specific projects. I'm always buying stuff to have, and I love that. It's like having a little palette of colours that you can then just pick out the paints you want and use them. The last thing I got then in that grouping was, this is the last one, it's Rowan Kid Silk Haze, and it is a 50-gram skein of the most beautiful silk mohair in a gorgeous colour, and this was actually just on special offer. That's the reason I picked it up. So it could even go with one of my other acquisitions that I was showing you. It would probably fit well with the This one here, this is lovely water green that I got Malabrigo, and you see the two of these would work really well together. So maybe they'll end up in a project, who knows, but that was just by way of finishing off the section on my acquisitions. So thank you so much for listening and for being here for the knittings portion of the podcast. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you like the video. And there's also my Kofi account if you want to contribute financially to the making of the podcast, and I'll have a link to the description in the description below. And thank you so much to everybody who does so on a regular basis, and I'm really just feel very blessed that people feel that they want to contribute. And I just love making the podcasts for you. So that's an option for you if you want to do that. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again next time. If you're not interested in continuing on with me to the Irish cultural section, that's fine. And if you are, then we'll start into that straight away. So I always try and base this section on Irish folklore, mythology, Irish history, Irish language. I try and base it on something that has inspired me in the few weeks that are leading up to each of the podcasts that I do. And this particular topic is all about cows and butter making, and specifically bog butter. So I don't know if any of you out there have, I think the Irish people will have heard of this concept of bog butter. And it's something that we all grew up knowing about and hearing about, and it's something then that I have just found a fabulous article on in a book that I'll show you in a second. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about bog butter and what it is. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to the reason I was inspired to do that actually was because I was on my travels. I came across a farm in East Mayo that produces raw milk and raw butter, so unpasteurized milk and butter, and this is becoming, thankfully, something that is more common. And there's a real move away from mass-produced milk and butter, even though, I mean, we produce so much in this country and so much of it gets exported, which is a good thing, I suppose. But it's mass-produced in a way that that has really only, the intensification of farming here has really been brought to a huge scale and taken off in the last, I suppose, 20 years maybe. I mean, obviously before that we grew up with pasteurized and homogenized milk and butter, but I think it's really gone completely off the scale in the last 20 years or so. But there's been a bit of a backlash to that maybe, and realisation that we're losing something in the process, and that there are people now starting more and more to produce raw milk, and especially because we realise that there are health implications for homogenisation of milk and dairy products, that some people become intolerant to dairy because of the way it's produced. And so we have raw milk, and I was very lucky to visit a farm recently in East Mayo, as I said, that produces raw milk, and this beautiful farm just inspired me really to look into the whole production of bog butter, which I had come across an article about, and also the importance of cows in Irish culture, which brings me back to this other publication that I want to tell you about. But the wonderful thing about this particular farm was that it's if you're in Ireland, you can buy the butter. It's the brand name is Glanbuy, and that word Glanbuy means yellow or golden valley or vale, golden vale, and it is so that's their brand name for the butter, and it is named after a field that has been on the farm for generations. This farm has been in the family that make the butter for generations, and they've always known that this particular field which is called Glanbury, always produced the most beautiful butter and the most incredible creamy milk, but that the production that went down, the quantities went down when the cows were in this field, so they produced less of the milk and the dairy products, but much higher quality. So that's still what they do. They recognise the people who are farming the land, recognise the value and the history that's in that field. So, and the field name has been there for who knows how long, for generations. So I think it's absolutely fantastic that this is being done now. I really think they're an amazing family, amazing couple, and you can actually look them up online, and you can order your butter and your raw milk from them. I just love the connection with the naming of the field and the importance as well of giving the cows a break. So, and first of all, they produce less, so acknowledging that a lower production doesn't mean that the field is worthless, that it's not all about quantity, it's more about quality. And they also do give their cows a break over the winter, which is also very traditional as well. That milking was done when the cows were in calf, and it was done in the summer. And then the dairy products were preserved by the making of butter, and then there were periods of the year, and maybe storing that butter. But there were periods of the year where maybe there was very little, and that was part of the natural cycle. And it was also very healthy for humans to exist in an environment where you couldn't get everything all of the time. Anyway, so that's where the inspiration came from, was the visit to that farm. First things that I really was fascinated by was the notion of bog butter. So there's a whole chapter on a history of bog butter in Ireland, it's called. So I would always have heard about bog butter in school, we just knew about it. We didn't know very much about why it was there or how long it had been in the ground, but why it was buried in the bogs. But so this article really reveals, sort of answers a load of those questions, and doesn't answer them as well at the same time, but it certainly provides real food for thought. A.T. Lucas, who wrote Cattle in Ancient Ireland, notes that virtually everyone in Irish society was preoccupied with cows, which is reflected in our mythological tales and early literature, and cattle were prized more for their bon via, which means white meats, or white food, which means milk, buttermilk, butter, curds, cheese, and various other dairy products, than they were for their meat. So since the production of the white meat, so the bon via, didn't require killing the animals, so the obvious thing was that was what they were prized for. This preoccupation with cattle and dairy is also evident in place names. This is something we looked at in the last podcast, with the Irish word for road, boher, deriving from bow, which means cow, and was defined by the length and breadth of a cow, a road was. Butter-related place names range from Kilima or Kilimy, meaning wood of the butter, in Laois, and Gurton Ima Butterfield in Dublin and Limerick. And then this interesting one, Món na Dubán, literally translated to Món na Dubán, which means it's in Kilkenny, and it means the bog of the tubs. So this most likely referred to the tubs of bog butter. So recent identification and radiocarbon dating of lipids of milk absorbed into pottery found in the North Bogs of Mayo in the Cage of Fields there proves scientifically that early Neolithic farmers were actually, who occupied that ancient field system, the oldest field system in the world, the Cage of Fields, that they were practicing dairy farming. So there's actual evidence for dairy farming having been going on like 2000 BC, and this article discusses then the phenomenon of bog butter, which is ancient butter that was buried and has been preserved in peat bogs. So the nature of the peat, which keeps oxygen out and is cool and moist, is known to preserve all sorts of organic matter, including even people. There are bog bodies that have been found, really intact bodies that were buried in bogs in ancient times, and all sorts of other organic matter like textiles and foodstuffs and wood. So the bog butter is often buried in containers, like what are known as firkins, so little kegs of butter, of wooden kegs, and they've been shown to have been buried from the Bronze Age all the way up to the modern period, the modern era. So and it's really owing to the extraordinary preservation qualities of the peat that these things actually, they survive. And it's really the reason that we've been able to find all these things is really because of peat extraction. So peat extraction is a very ancient tradition as well of, or at least it's a tradition that's been going on for hundreds of years, where and it's often done by hand, or it was traditionally done by hand, where peat was harvested for and dried for use as a fuel, and this became an industry as well, and which is recently being shut down because of the new understanding, I suppose, of finally an understanding that peat bogs are important for our biodiversity and for climate change, for retaining carbon. They're carbon sinks. So the National Museum of Ireland regularly receives reports of discovery of butter from bogs around the country. It's a very common thing, and so common in fact that actually a lot of the time these in like hundreds of years ago, they wouldn't have been recorded, they wouldn't have been thought of as very unusual. So it's only in recent times that the museum has been, these are artifacts that they're archaeological finds, that there's an obligation on anybody who finds bog butter now to report it to the National Museum and for it to be sent there and analysed and to become part of the study and the research into what it is and what it can tell us about our past. So what is bog butter? So obviously it's butter that's been buried, but for a variety of different reasons. And when it's discovered, it has a really pungent smell and is likened to ripe old cheese. And is found in a variety of containers, as I was saying, wooden and sometimes not actually wrapped at all, mostly wooden containers, but often, animal skins or textiles, but sometimes no covering, just buried as it is in the bog. And up until about the late 90s, it was thought that the oldest deposit was about 400 BCE, and it's now known to be go as far back as possibly 2,500 BCE, because a comprehensive radiocarbon dating piece of research was carried out on the finds that the National Museum has, and so this new technology has just the application of it has really increased our understanding of how old the tradition actually is. So they reckon that a range of 4,000 years is what we're looking at in terms of the long-lived tradition of both the production of butter in Ireland and its deposition in bogs. So why was it buried? And this is the question that I was dying to find out more information on. So there's so many possible reasons. It may have been buried as a boundary marker or a landmark. It could have been buried for security purposes to prevent it from being stolen, or to provide a particular taste or consistency. It could be interpreted as a symbolic deposition reflecting the marriage of the king or the ruler of the land with the earth goddess, and the importance of ensuring the fertility of the land and consequent survival of communities, which sounds very plausible. And it may have been to safeguard against leaner times or for preservation of the foodstuff for annual periods of shortage. So like we would use a modern fridge, that it would have been just buried in the cool peat to prevent it from getting mouldy and to prevent it from going off. So the importance of keeping butter as cool as possible in combination with the anaerobic condition of bogs and the antiseptic properties of sphagnum moss would have prevented mold growth. It could have been deposited as a votive or offering to the gods, which is sort of similar to the idea of the earth goddess being, I suppose, worshipped or being appeased, or the fertility of the land being, ensured by making an offering to the earth goddess. So both of those are similar reasons. Then there was the practice of bullying or transhumance, and butter making was the chief occupation in bully houses. So unsalted butter would have been preserved by burying it in wooden skin or bark or cloth containers, and milk was only produced for half of the year, so or at least when cows were in calf, and therefore only really available in the summer and the autumn. And this is something which we forget very easily in our modern day, when we can walk into a supermarket and get butter and milk anytime. It's made year round, and that goes back as well to how lovely it is to see the tradition coming back of the cows on the Glanbuie farm only being put into production for part of the year, that everybody takes a break over the winter. The farming family takes a break, the cows get a break, and it must improve the quality of the end product. And it's also giving something back. It's rest, all of these ideas that we've forgotten about in the modern world. And the idea as well of burying it for the earth goddess is giving something back to the earth. So we're not taking and taking and taking the whole time, that something has been given back. So the high quality of workmanship of the containers suggests that it was something more complex than storage. So it was, and also the fact that the material itself was associated with, that butter was something that wasn't cheap. That it's unlikely that all of these vessels were lost or forgotten about by those who buried them, that it was a deliberate thing, that they were put in the ground, and putting something of great value into the ground is symbolic of giving something back. And it's very much likely that that's one of the main reasons for bog butter. So cows were of such importance in society that they were almost considered members of society, and this is something that is really obvious in Indian culture even up to today. They're sacred, but they played a hugely significant role in the economy. They were the measure of everything, the unit of value, and it even comes back to our understanding of traditional buildings, and or at least our approach to the idea that cows were often kept under the same roof as the family in a house, and that is often greeted with sort of shock and horror by people who are hearing this information today in the modern world, that how could you possibly have your animals in the same house. But actually they were considered of huge value, so much value that it wasn't worth their lives risking the cow either being stolen or getting sick because of bad weather. And perhaps they didn't have a cow byre or an outhouse, and in those cases then the cow came in to the house with them, and it just shows how valuable they were. And there was also the idea that in a traditional house, in a cottage, the front door was directly opposite the back door, to allow for the cow to be able to, that you didn't have to turn the cow when you brought it in. You could actually easily just usher it out the far side of the house. So it was these cows were, like, the houses were small, so the cows would have taken up a lot of room. So it's part of our whole tradition, and these houses are still dotted all over the countryside, these cottages, and it's just a reminder of this tradition that has gone on since the time of the Cagey Fields, since 2000 or 2,500 years before Christ, and so we're looking at 4,500 to 4,500 years of continuous production of dairy in this country. And it wasn't really until probably the middle of the 20th century that a lot of these cottages started to fall into disuse. Some of them are still used today, but they wouldn't be the main place where people live, although they're beginning to be recognised for the wonderful buildings that they are and what they have to tell us about Irish culture. And the continuity is just incredible, really, when you think about it, that these practices and this worshipping of cows and dairy is something that has existed for so long here. So that's really the end of my little talk and little trot down through the history of butter and the importance of cows in Irish culture. And I'm so glad that you've had the chance to listen today and to share for me to be able to share this with you, which I find absolutely fascinating, and I hope you do too. So thanks so much for listening, and if you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to as well. And there's also the Kofi account. I'll put that down below. That's it. So thanks very much for being here, and we'll see you again next time. Take care and happy knitting and making, and see you then. Bye for now.
Don't be a stranger in the night. Take a chance for some romance. Don't cover your eyes. Willow trees know you better than anyone else. It's time you let your guard down for someone like me. I'd say I'm settled and pretty calm. I don't storm in the storm. If not me, then someone like me that knows what to do and how to take care of you. But most of all, that deserves you. The sweetest red cheese I'd ever seen. You stand beside me in every dream. Angel goddess, you cover them all. Say, what can I do to get you to fall for someone like me? I'd say I'm settled and I'm pretty cold. I don't storm in the storm. If not me, then someone like me that knows what to do and how to take care of you. But most of all, that deserves you. It's most of deserves you. It's crucial that he deserves you. That he deserves you. Go with someone like me.